Hey there, guys and gals. Adam Ringham coming at you from the High Vibe Tribe. Giving a shout out to Tony and Chris and Jordan. You guys, it's great seeing these videos coming out. Jordan, you're a machine doing this cleanse during this cold weather. Man, I don't even understand how you can do it, but that is not the point of today's video. Today's video is going to be on a very special oil that I like. And so really hold on, grab your hats, pay yourself attention a little bit because we got some fun information for you today, and hopefully we can really get you some cool ideas and really get you some information on how to do some cool stuff. Today's oil, it's not really an oil that I'm going to talk about. This is day 30, and 30 is a nice significant number, a little numerology. Today's oil isn't an oil, it is the frankincense resin burner. And there have been some excellent videos out on frankincense and its properties, but today I'm going to kind of talk about the frankincense resin burner instead. You can't really see it in the picture over here, but it's this little doohickey. I got it by my piano here. Which is kind of one of the things I'd like to share what it's so great for. Now, frankincense has some very, very interesting brain supporting abilities. And one of the key ones I want to talk about today is the hippocampus. And the hippocampus is kind of lit in the middle of the center of your brain down in here, down by the pineal gland and the pituitary and the hypothalamus. And so frankincense resin, if you love the smell of frankincense diffusing it, a little bit better option for you could maybe be the frankincense resin burner, because this smokiness hangs around a lot more. You can leave it on, and I put a little bit of frankincense resin in the thing and it lasts me for days, and I put it on for an hour or two a day. And one of my favorite times to use it though is in this contraption we see in the background here of my piano. It is not just for show. I do have other things that I can do besides be obnoxious. I'm very good at that one, don't get me wrong, but I can do that. And here's the big reason why I like to say that this frankincense resin burner is one of my favorites. The big thing is because frankincense is so supportive to numerous regions of the brain, but the one I'd like to focus on, if anybody'd like to, go ahead and go over to PubMed and just type in frankincense hippocampus. Now the hippocampus is a key area involved in learning, attention, spatial memory, and motor functions. And so the reason why this is important, I'd like to share this for all of you that have kids or play a musical instrument yourself. When your child is playing a musical instrument, make sure to have that frankincense going, or that frankincense resin if you want. I personally love it when I have it and I'm playing piano. It is just the greatest things. One of the things I did with my little guy, ever since he was basically born, when he'd be sitting or doing his thing, we got a really cool topic that I call sustained mood congruent neuroplasticity. And what I mean by that is a term I made up. Basically, there's a couple of different things that we can do with it. I always played classical music, the piano guys. I love the piano guys and their videos. They just have great stuff. I mean, it's very cheery. I love their modern take on it too, so it's not quite so straight mathematically based like a lot of Bach music is, or Mozart. Bach was a master of it. Eric Dollard has some awesome talks on that. But moving back to where I was, the thing that would happen because of this spatial attention and memory function and processing, a big thing the hippocampus does too is tells the brain where to send information to be processed. And so the studies on it show just amazing support for the hippocampus, and what that will do is it can help enhance your learning and memory retention during playing piano. And while my little guy, not quite old enough to play the piano yet, he is old enough to hear it and listen to it. And so if you've heard the studies of children that listen to classical music, are a little bit smarter, there's a huge part, and I'm not talking the four-chorded crap that we have on the radio. I'm talking actual good music that has substance to it, something that's still real, that has that emotion in it, not four chords in every song, because that's tuned to 440 hertz, and it's a different topic for a different day. But the thing is, when you start playing it to them, music is involved in so many different things. Mathematical comprehension, language comprehension, because language and mathematics are so much of the same thing, and music involves both the left brain and the right brain together, and is exceptionally stimulating the pineal gland. And so that's why I like to have my frankincense resin burner going, because it's wonderful at helping support that memory, that motor function, that spatial allocation. That is one of the greatest properties of frankincense. If you have any child that's learning math or another language, that's another great way to do, but start them off early with the music in the frankincense resin burner. And a little tidbit that I like to share that I found out a little bit too late for my guy, but the next child, definitely gonna happen. Children between the ages of 6 months and 8 months old, if they hear a language, any language in the world, doesn't matter what it is, could be as complex as possible. I recommend ancient Hebrew. because boy, is that a neat language. Different topic, different day. We talk about how your DNA is written basically in ancient Hebrew, but like I said, I digress for a little bit. But the big thing is, if your child hears between ages 6 months and 8 months for 30 minutes a day, if they hear any language in the world, when they grow up, they're going to learn that language with the neuroplasticity of an infant because it was imprinted in them between those ages. And so what I like to do, I'm going to take it a step further here. I'm going to use that sustained mood congruent neuroplasticity. And how I always like to talk about passing these genetic memories down to your child and these other memories that you can associate a scent with different things for your kid. What I do, or I recommend for your children, what I'm going to do for my next one, while I'm playing that music, and I also did this with the music that I would play like the piano guys and stuff, I would have this frankincense resin burner going. Because then, throughout their ages, kind of like when you smell grandma's apple pie, you know, it would bring you back to the sense of when you were a kid, you could smell grandma's apple pie. Well, now you've basically created a scent-based memory for your kid. Now, whenever they smell this frankincense resin burner, they are now going to bring back those memories and help enhance that neuroplasticity and sustain it throughout their lifetime. So that in hopes, there aren't any studies out on here yet, but I toss out the hypothesis that your child then, upon hearing this classical music or playing an instrument, when they get this frankincense resin burner, when they smell that frankincense, not only is it incredibly supportive to that area, those areas in the brain that are involved in spatial allocation and memory retention, because piano, spatial allocation of knowing where it is, and that memory retention, but also that information processing. Now when they grow up, they can bring that scent back and it'll help enhance, or at least hopefully, because there's no studies to prove this yet, so I'm only tossing out the idea, hopefully it can help enhance their learning and their memory to branch not only from music to that mathematics, to that language, to a whole myriad of different skills of the things that you could help do for your kids. Absolutely unbelievable. And so now this isn't just for children, this is also for me because I love the smell of a fresh frankincense resin putting in. I mean, I get it rolling in my house and I love it. You can smell it for hours. My wife comes home and is like, what on earth were you doing? But don't even ask. Don't worry about it. And so I'd like to, if you guys would allow me to, we'll give you a little bit of a demonstration. Now, I am not perfect at this. I am kind of a big dumb oaf here, so this is not something that was great. Actually, a little personal story. After I came back from my deployment to Iraq, I actually quit playing the piano for 10 years. Or very close to 10 years. Like I played it since I was probably about 3-4 years old, and my parents, we had this old piano that was super out of tune. I was a very hyperactive child with a very difficult child, different story, different day. But I basically told them I didn't want to practice because it was a lot of sitting and paying attention. Had I a frankincense resin burner, it might have been a different story that they could have coaxed me into it with that. But I begged them, I'm like, listen, I know I'm going to be difficult with this, but please don't let me quit this because it's something I love. And while it's hard for me and it's difficult, I told them from a very young age, please keep me in these lessons. My first piano teacher, we didn't mesh very well because I have something wrong with my timing processing in my brain that I can't keep a steady beat very well. And you'll hear that during the course of this, that I don't keep a steady beat. I play it emotionally, that my timing moves all over the place. And I prefer it that way. And so my first piano teacher was a very hard, old school, by the book, ruler over the knuckles, be like, you will get this metronome and you will play this. I'm going to work on it more, don't worry, I've got some ideas. But my second piano teacher was wonderfully supportive. She's like, well, he doesn't count time exactly correctly, but who cares? Let him do what he wants. He's still playing the piano. So remember, parents, if you've got some kids that maybe they're not doing it right, but the big thing is that they're still they've still got that instrument in their hands. And that's one of the biggest things to remember. And so after my little deployment, I came back from Iraq, and that whole topic is another issue for another day. I know I always say that I'll get to it, don't worry. But I quit playing for 10 years. And I'll probably have to do a video on it, but my very first oil I talked about was sacred frankincense. And sacred frankincense, I had an experience with it. That I basically was praying and I asked for some help, a little guidance from above. And that spirit came down and boy, I met my soul and it was a wild experience, but that very next day, my wife was furious. I had to get a piano back. Like, I needed it so badly. I spent all the extra money we had to make sure I could go buy this thing off Craigslist, and she came home and she's like, what on earth have you done? I'm like, Carrie, you don't understand. I have to have this piano back in my life. And I had to start learning all over again. It was the dumbest thing I've ever done. Why did I quit playing the piano? Why did I do a lot of things that I've done in my life? There's no explanation for it. But the long story short is, I had to have this piano back, and I had to get it back in my life, and it's been something just wonderful for me to have. And I'm going to be able to play it unless, of course, I lose function in my limbs, which he's praying that I do not. I'm going to set the intentions that I will keep wonderful function in my hands and only get better. But it's something I can do until a ripe, ripe old age. And on top of that, there is that epigenetics, that your abilities get encoded into your genetics. Consciousness isn't just here. It isn't just here. It's not just out there. It's everywhere. And so just like traumas can get encoded into your genetics, as can abilities. And we can talk about super epigenetic encoding abilities, and that's a different video for a different day. I know, I'm always saying that. But the key thing is, get your kids in these things. Get that frankincense resin burner. Get them exposed to music that's more than 4 chords. Music that has substance, real beauty written into it by these masters. I mean, just the unbelievableness of it. Because you're going to be giving them, much like my parents. I mean, they gave me something to hold on to. I came back. I'm so glad they put me in those lessons, because this piano was, it kind of helped save me from a whole lot of different things that I was doing. And this frankincense resin burner only makes me happier. And I turn it on whenever we've got good music for Tolly, or he's going to sit down at the piano. That I get him started early, because those memories are going to come back of, I remember that frankincense resin burner. Be like, yeah, my dad used to sit down at the piano with me, and he was always so happy to turn that frankincense resin burner on. Those are the kind of memories I want to bring back with my son. And if I've got future kids down the line, that's what I want in my genetics. That's what I want my legacy to be. To be like, every time these smells come along, my son or all of my kids are going to be like, oh, I remember that smell. My dad used to sit at the piano. Or I'll take Christmas spirit and I'll bring him out backpack walking during the first snowstorm of the year, so that every time he smells that Christmas spirit, he's going to think of, backpacking with dad in the snowstorms. And I mean, never underestimate, no matter how young your child is, these memories start forming. And especially when you tie them through the olfactory cavity, you can make these scent-based memories that last a lifetime, even beyond when you're gone. So when I'm dead and gone, which will happen someday, Tully's always going to have me right there with him, that he can turn on that frankincense resin burner. I'm going to get him playing as many instruments as I can and just encourage him. I'm not going to force him, but I'm going to heavily encourage him and withhold the frankincense resin burner. Be like, oh, you want that? No, you got to go practice the piano for a little bit. Unfortunately, he already comes and likes banging on the buttons. But without further ado, if you allow me, I'm going to play us a little song, and it's by Jan Tiersen, and I don't remember the name of it because it's very hard to pronounce. So I'll maybe try and look it up on YouTube. I don't really want to put it on YouTube, because then you'd be like, when I play it, it'd be like, well, it doesn't sound anything like what I heard on YouTube, because this guy's timing is all over the place, which, dude, I don't care. This is for me. And so perhaps I can, if you'll allow me, I'm going to do a little bit of playing, and you can kind of, experience it with me, if you will. So here I go. And forgive me if I mess up, because I am not perfect. We're working on it. We'll get closer every day. Thanks for sticking with me. Hopefully you enjoyed it. You guys have yourself an awesome holiday season, and remember, stay healthy, my friends.